It's easy to say that Harvey Milk is one of the most influential people in history. He was the first openly gay elected official in America. He broke barriers for the LGBTQ community through politics and encouraged acceptance of all throughout the nation, and he was bold and brave, changed history all throughout the world. Harvey Milk broke barriers in the LGBTQ community by representing the community through politics and by fighting for their equal rights in rallies and protests. He opened the minds of American citizens regarding the acceptance of the LGBTQ community and their equality in societal roles. Harvey Milk was born on May 22, 1930 in Woodmere, New York to William and Minerva Milk. He had one brother named Robert Milk. Growing up, his family was Jewish. Harvey's grandfather was an immigrant from Lithuania and owned a small department store. He went to Bay Shore High School and sang opera and played football. He got good grades and was known to be well liked by his teachers and peers. He worked in his grandfather's department store alongside his brother. It was called Milk's. Harvey graduated from New York State College for Teachers in 1951, and then he joined the U.S. Navy. He was a San Francisco diving instructor in the Korean War. He even was a junior lieutenant in the war when he was respectfully discharged in 1955. After Milk's discharge from San Francisco, he moved back to New York and had a variety of high-profile jobs including Broadway musicals, a public school teacher, a stock analyst, and a Wall Street investment banker. After finding himself in a rut with his life, Harvey became friends with a bunch of gay radicals from Greenwich Village, and then he moved back to San Francisco after becoming increasingly bored in New York. Around this time, Milk met his boyfriend, Joe Campbell. Their relationship lasted until 1961. Shortly after moving back to San Francisco, Harvey opened a store called Castro Cameras. His store was located on Castro Street, which is located in a heavily gay community. Castro Cameras is also a campaign headquarters for Milk. According to Milk, he'd known since high school that he was a gay man, but he was afraid and stayed quiet about it for a vast majority of his life. Eureka Valley Merchants Association tried hard to prevent two gay businessmen from owning a shop, but Castro Cameras was a personal rebel per Milk. After becoming well known by locals, mostly gay due to his ownership of Castro Cameras, he felt like he was supported enough to declare candidacy and became increasingly active in his community through politics. The Watergate scandal of 1973 encouraged Milk to begin in politics. In 1973, he declared he would now go out for a position on the San Francisco Board of Supervisors. This was a very bold move, considering that he was an openly gay man, and at this time people weren't exactly accepting of homosexuality. Milk had an overwhelmingly large amount of love, but he also had an overwhelmingly large amount of hate when he ran for his first campaign. At first, Milk lost his first election, and 2 years later he placed his bets again. He lost by very little for the same seat he had previously tried to attain. However, after being in the public eye, he had gained a lot of media attention and good connections with other politicians in the San Francisco area, including Mayor George Moscone and future city mayor Willie Brown and later U.S. Senator Dianne Feinstein. In 1977, Milk was heavily referred to as the mayor of Castro Street, a reference made to him being seen as the leader to those in the LGBT community, which was Castro Street. Quote, "I finally reached the point where I knew I had to become involved or shut up." End quote. Milk on the Watergate scandal of 1972. Harvey Milk gave very many influential speeches throughout his political career, but possibly the most memorable is his Hope speech. Milk delivered his speech on the steps of San Francisco City Hall during a mass rally to celebrate California Gay Freedom Day on June 25, 1978.
somewhere in Des Moines or San Antonio, there's a young gay person who all of a sudden realizes that she or he is gay, knows that if the parents find out, they'll be tossed out of the house. The classmates would taunt the child, and the Anita Bryans and John Briggs are doing their bit on TV, and that child had several options. Staying in a closet, suicide, and then one day that child might open a paper and it says homosexual elected in San Francisco, and there are two new options. The option is to go to California, stay in San Antonio and fight. 2 days after I was elected, I got a phone call, and the voice was quite young. It was from Altoona, Pennsylvania, and the person said, "Thanks."
On November 8, 1977, he won his seat on the San Francisco County Board. On January 1978, he was inaugurated and became the city's first openly gay officer, as well as the very few elected gay officials in the U.S. Milk incorporated other issues as well as child care and housing, as well as civilian police review board. Harvey's fight for equality sparked national interest when he defeated a state senate proposal that would have banned homosexuals from teaching in public schools. Milk expanded his efforts with his San Francisco Gay Democratic Club, which he launched in 1977. Milk had a passion for preserving the uniqueness and historical characteristics of the San Francisco neighborhoods. Milk was held in office for 11 months total. During this time, Milk worked to end the stigma of homosexuality and mental illness. He also had gays and lesbians appointed to higher positions after consulting with George Moscone on the issue. Milk heavily emphasized the importance to listen to individuals' rights and concerns involving society, and tried his hardest to relate that to the government and what they could do to help. Harvey was insistent on adding non-discrimination laws on members of the LGBT community, which was later passed. He had on his agenda a want for the city to hire more gay and lesbian police officers. He abolished the city's anti-sodomy law. He also worked on programs that benefited minorities, workers, and the elderly. Milk's main purpose when he was in the political office was to encourage the freedoms of the people. He also passed a law called the Pooper-Scooper Act, which would encourage people to clean up their dog's waste. When Harvey Milk's anti-gay discrimination law passed in June 1978, he held a gay parade, which was at the time the largest in the world. Many people showed up to this parade. They celebrated Milk's victory and embraced who they truly are. After the California State Assembly, however, Milk had received many death threats, and even said, quote, "If a bullet should enter my brain, let that bullet destroy every closet door," end quote. On November 27, 1978, Harvey Milk sat down at the San Francisco City Board Hall for a press conference. Dan White, a former board member, firefighter, and police officer, snuck into the building through the basement in an effort to avoid metal detectors. Roughly 10 days before this, Dan White had resigned from the board with complaints about his salary. White had also continued to receive psychiatric help after his fascination with the People's Temple, or the Jonestown Massacre cult and mass suicide. Dan White was heavily anti-gay. He killed George Moscone by 2 gunshots to the shoulder and 1 to the head. Moscone had plans to announce who would replace White on the board at the conference this day, and this infuriated Dan White. He claims to have shot Harvey Milk because he, quote, smirked at him, end quote. But I think the reasons are more personal than he would like to admit. White did, however, vote no for Milk's anti-gay law that ended up passing with 1 vote in opposite favor, which was Dan White's. Dan White ended up serving 5 years in psychiatric care and committed suicide on October 21, 1985. That day, flowers were left on the floor in front of City Hall. About 40,000 people marched from Castro Street to City Hall on the evening of Milk's death. Milk's legacy lives on forever in the hearts and minds of all American citizens, not just the ones whose fight for equality was ultimately won because of Milk's bravery and determination. Not only did Harvey Milk fight for gay rights within the legal system, but he was able to give them positions of authority and encourage the acceptance of these people in everyday life. He fought to keep California a clean, beautiful state and for rights for the elderly, minorities, and workers. He was a people man. He knew that his purpose in being involved in politics was none other than to help the people. Harvey Milk was a selfless, giving man who accomplished so much in a life unfortunately cut short. Society today would be completely different if Harvey Milk had never ran 3 times for political office. Harvey Milk changed history by changing mindsets. He opened the world up to receive more love and trump the hate, because not only was Harvey Milk a gay man and a human, but he was one of the most influential political figures to look to for acceptance ever. He was more than human, and the world will forever thank him for his tremendous contributions to society. And as he said it himself, this is America. Love it or leave it.